So it's probably me looking at to see if it's working. So.
All right.
But any hoodles, majoodles.
Right. We should be streaming and stuff again, so see if it connects.
All right.
Yeah, I guess that was just a issue on Restream. Because it was still recording.
Weird.
Alright. Hello, everyone. We're back.
Hello,
I
me.
apologize.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. We did technology killed us. But
Yeah.
It's okay.
but anyways,
I have
yeah,
a
it's kind of
present.
incredible.
It's my knitting.
Oh,
You did
nice.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
Oh,
cool.
Yeah,
You should be proud.
it's a rainbow.
It almost looked like one of the ninjas from Mortal Kombat, but like a rainbow ninja.
Rainbow skin.
Like what's her name?
Rainbow.
Katana? Katana?
Katana.
I'm gonna stab myself in my
Yeah.
glasses with
She's the one with the Ninja Turtle daggers. And then like the
Yeah.
blue. Yeah. Is it her name
Yeah,
Katana?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. You're like her, but rainbow. And you don't have like a scary looking mouth. Because in the movie, like she takes off her thing and it's like she got a big mouth.
Mm, I see.
Her mouth too big for her gosh dang face.
All right, so
So
we
it's a
can
3DS.
we can continue hopefully.
Yes.
You have a
Choose
3DS and it's old.
what
The 3DS.
yeah,
yes,
what
is
are-
old.
Yeah. Oh, so to explain to everyone, because you were talking about we're pushing the 3DS more now. You work sort of for Nintendo. So
Yeah.
Miyamoto's
So you
secret
have to explain that
assistant.
so people, like you can just call up Miyamoto on the phone and be like, "Hi."
I don't have those connections.
Hey, Reggie.
So, also very important to note that because as a Nintendo brand ambassador, I also have to mention that all views are my own. So, like, I don't actually know anything. Like, everything that I talk about is only just, like, my speculation, my ideas. Nothing that I know about Nintendo comes from Nintendo because I find out...
The Nintendo ninjas are coming, Caleb.
I find out everything at the same time as you guys. Like, I don't know more than anyone about Nintendo. It's just kind of about like what I see and things that happen. So, just to get that out there.
Yeah, it's like part of being like an ambassador is like you get to promote the games and sometimes maybe you'll get a game early, but you're not being told here's the inside scoop on everything coming out next year.
Yeah, exactly. And even
difference.
then, like I don't even get games early. Like I most of the time I go out and I buy the games myself.
Right.
For the most part, at training, they'll cover everything just to make sure that we know the games and the consoles inside and out. So that way, when we're out on the field demoing, then we actually know what we're talking about. Like, they want to make sure that we aren't just booth babes.
You basically work there for their publicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get paid by Nintendo to spend my paycheck at Nintendo, so.
There you go.
Anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So
I feel like, personally, the 3DS will make a comeback. Or the 2DS
Really?
XL.
you don't think
I don't think...
they would release 2D Zelda on the Switch? You think they would release it on the 3DS still?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I
maybe
think
it'd be
that
like a
would-
dual launch. That would be cool.
Ooh, that'd be cool, yeah. But because they keep saying, like, they don't want to phase out the 2DS or the 3DS, they want to keep that as a thing. So the best way for them to do that is take a 2D Zelda game and push it over there, because that's how the consoles keep getting, or those handheld consoles keep getting attention, is because they push games like Pokemon and Zelda to them.
And yet, the next generation of Pokemon, I think they've said outright, is going to come to Switch.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. But I mean, we can't rationalize too much of what Nintendo does most of the time. But
True.
I don't know.
mean,
The 3DS doesn't seem to have any sign of slowing down, and yet it's like been. I had to double check. It was released in February of 2011.
wow.
That's like a crazy amount of time for any sort of console to stay on the market.
Mhm.
You know, like I know the NES and the original Game Boy were out for a long time, but then once SNES came out and Game Boy Advance, like things started to move rapidly ahead of time, like ahead for each console, like 4 or 5 years or something. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like they're gearing up to replace it with like a next gen 3DS, just more of like a slightly upgraded one with the new 3DSs. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It really is crazy.
It's gonna be a 10-year-old system before we know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Ilya, do you have any final thoughts on when? Because like it's been, it usually takes 2 to 3 years for a new Zelda 2D to come out because they have their handheld team and then they have their home console team. Their handheld team releases new Zeldas every 2 to 3 years. It's been 3 years since their last release.
Yeah.
Here in 2 months, it'll be 4 years. So, and that's longer than any other 2D release in the past like 20 years. So, what do you expect a 2D game to come to the 3DS? Do you expect it to be on the 3DS? Is it going to be both? Like a dual release like they did with Fire Emblem Warriors, where it launched on the 3DS and the Switch? It could be a company like Grezzo, who worked on Ocarina of Time 3D, Twilight or Majora's Mask 3D, and they helped on Triforce Heroes. So maybe they could put out some sort of remake or their own new Zelda game. Other companies have like helped on games, like Ubisoft worked on the Mario game. Now they just released like a Star Fox crossover. It's gonna like only be like a matter of time before they do some sort of Zelda crossover as well. So, anyways, there's a lot of options. What do you realistically expect? Like everyone's hope would be at the Game Awards, Miyamoto walks out, is like, "Hi, here's a new 2D Zelda game," and then at the end of the show, they're like, "Oh, we're back. One more thing. Here's a new Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever." Like I think that's what everyone wishes would happen, but realistically, what do you expect to happen? Like,
realistically, I honestly don't know because I can see something being released on the 3DS being a real possibility still, since they are trying to still keep it alive, and I didn't get mine until like a couple years ago, so I can realistically see it going to the Switch. I could realistically see it going to both. I don't think any new main console, whatever Zelda game is coming out anytime soon, even though I would love another main one soon. But as far as like a 2D or handheld title, I would hope they would just release something for both. I have both, but there are a lot of people that still can't afford a Switch but have a 3DS, and it'd be nice if they could have it on there. But then again, you have to wonder, could something that runs really well on the Switch run well on the 3DS? Depends, unless there's two different versions. So I'm not sure.
So Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS, on the normal 3DS, it like chugs along at like 20 frames, where a normal game on the 3DS is 30 frames, or if it's like a Link Between Worlds, it's 60 frames. So with Hyrule Warriors, sometimes it runs down at like 20 frames, and then Fire Emblem Warriors looks even better because it's like they added more detail and stuff during the 2 or 3 years they took to make Fire Emblem Warriors from Hyrule Warriors, because newer games always look a little bit better. So Fire Emblem Warriors on the 3DS chugged along even more. And then Nintendo made first-party games like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon on the normal Nintendo 3DS. It chugged along during certain Pokemon battles so much that they disabled the 3D mode, because putting it on 3D makes it run even like slower, so they didn't want it to like run at like 10 frames per second, so they completely took out the 3D function on the 3DS version of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. You could only play it in 3D if it was the new 3DS. And then games like Xenoblade, that was on the Wii, they put on the 3DS, and you could only play it on the new 3DS, which is really funny. Sorry, this is off topic, guys, I'm really sorry. But I always liked the idea, because I was working at GameStop whenever this happened. And it's like, you have to explain to a customer that you have the Nintendo 3DS and then the new Nintendo 3DS. And then you have games like New Super Mario Bros. That can work on the new and the old 3DS. Even though it has new in the title, it doesn't mean that it only runs on the new 3DS. But then you have other games, like Xenoblade, that doesn't have a new in the title, but it can only work on the new 3DS. So like if you have someone come in to buy a 3DS and Xenoblade, then you have to explain like, oh, you're buying you need to buy a used new 3DS to play this game that doesn't have new in the title. But you can buy a used copy of New Super Mario Bros. That'll work on the new 3DS and the old, Nintendo and their titles is just really weird. So I just wanted to say that. But yeah, games like Xenoblade and the Pokemon run really bad on Xenoblade doesn't even run on the normal 3DS. But anyways, you guys get the idea, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've released games that they shouldn't have on the 3DS, but I'm kind of glad they did because even if it's a poor experience, people can still play it. So, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting. I'm sorry, guys. Do you just want to go?
No,
you want to end it
no.
now?
I'm just still really tired from this weekend, so that's why I keep having my moments of.
You flew on a plane.
I love planes.
That's so scary. All right.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Or what they could do, since it's coming on 10 years, they could release like the next version of the 3DS. Because
the 4DS.
If you remember, Daniel, a long time ago, like I think it was before we started the podcast, we talked about the job listing. Like we recently talked about the job listing they were hiring for Breath of the Wild, or not Breath of the Wild, but the next Zelda game. But they had a job listing where they were talking about creating brand new hardware. And it was like right before the Switch released. And they were putting up a job post. So it wouldn't have been for the Nintendo Switch because it was already in production. But they were hiring someone to help create a new hardware console. So a lot of people suspected the Switch just came out. So it could be they're working on whatever the successor to that is. Or the 3DS has been out for a long time. So it could be the successor to that. Because there were interviews where the president of Nintendo said that he doesn't think that dual screen gameplay is dead, and he thinks there's still a lot you can do with it. So I expect maybe, 10 years is a long time, like Chubes was saying. So they could come out with a new, 3DS successor, whether it is, something that has, 2 actual widescreens on it, and it's, in 720p or whatever. So they could come out with something like that, and then the 3D, the 2D Zelda game, could be a launch title for it instead of, So maybe that's why they're waiting so long to release it, because they want it to be like a launch thing. Because Breath of the Wild launched with the Switch, and the Switch did really well, so maybe they think a new 2D Zelda game could do really well for whatever the next 2D handheld is. And I'm rambling again. You guys gotta shut me up. Jeez.
You just have so much to talk about.
We want to hear what you have to say.
No, you don't. You're just like, when's this podcast gonna end?
No.
All right. Anyone have any final thoughts?
Give me Zeldors.
Give me the sweater.
My sweater?
No, Tubes.
Tube sweater? Give
Thank
us
you.
the sweater.
I can't.
Yeah.
It's for real, really nice.
Pardon me.
Anyone have any final things?
I think that's I think that's good. We could probably jump into mailbag time.
Wait,
top
no,
5
we have to
thing.
do topic.
Yeah,
I totally scrolled past that when I was.
Ilya wrote down all of her stuff, so.
Yeah,
I didn't write down anything. Uh-oh.
I thought
There's
about
a
it
lot
and
of
I have
bosses.
ideas.
So.
We're at 14.
And I have multiple options in case anyone says one of my bosses, and I'll be like, I don't want to name that one again, so I'll give a different one.
So how are we doing this? Is it going to be 5? Are we each doing 5?
No, we'll each do
one each, and then we'll agree on one.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's too much pressure.
So 4.
So.
Whoops! I wrote down 5 of each.
Well, that's fine. At the end of it, you can just list off all that you have if you want.
Yeah, just some honorable mentions for whatever doesn't get brought up.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because it would be an hour long if we all went through 5 each, or 10 each, really.
Especially because me going through 10 of them, I'd be like,
All right, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, what was the number earlier? Like for the.
Oh.
I'll think of it later. It's not a big.
Which the 136?
I don't.
Is that the number you're thinking of?
All right.
What?
Hello, everyone. I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. Here with us is Capt Bergerson, Daniel, as you know him.
Hi.
He does a lot of cool stuff here on this channel, in his own channel. Above me, we have Ilya Rose, who has her own amazing YouTube channel, The Geek Apprentice, that you can check out, where she discusses a lot of nerdy stuff. And beside her, we have Jablima, who you can find on Twitch as Jablima with 2 A's. And she just finished streaming Ocarina of Time for like 6 hours. And she also has a cool job. Ate a pine cone, yes.
She also ate a pine cone.
I also ate a pine cone.
She also has a cool job working with Nintendo, where she got her cool sweater that I want. But anyways, today we're going to be discussing, I believe, our very faithful user, one of our biggest fans, because I see him, I said her. I say her because my mom's name is the same as his. Anyways, they posted on a lot of videos. They're a big fan of us. They want us to write, or not write, but read some fan fiction on the podcast. I don't know if that would work very well. Maybe I could do like a dedicated video just
need,
for that.
Dramatic reading.
Yeah.
Like, are we
I'm
gonna
good
all
at dramatic
grab
reading.
some different characters?
Yeah. So
I'm good at dramatic readings.
They.
At least I think so.
I'm kind of down.
All right. So
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, we could do it. We could totally do it one day if we all.
Okay.
But they wanted us to do that, and they kept on recommending, and then they finally posted something that was an amazing idea, because we're always doing lists for discussions. And they asked, why don't you do a top 5 or a top 10 best and worst of, because we have the series that's very popular, our top 10 best and worst of. We've done Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword, that had Misclick, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and then we've done discussion forums of them as well, listing off our favorite and least favorite things. I'm proud to say, actually, I am really, really proud of this. The Breath of the Wild, top 10 best and worst of Breath of the Wild, and even the Ocarina of Time one as well, are 2 of the, for like those games, it's like one of the highest viewed Breath of the Wild reviews on YouTube, because it has like almost 1 million views, which is like a lot more than a lot of others. And the Ocarina of Time, best and worst of, which was the first one I did, has like 500,000, I believe. So like it's like one of the highest reviews of Ocarina of Time on YouTube, which is really good. Anyways, so we're doing the top 10 best and worst bosses from the Zelda series. Ilya, how are you doing?
Good.
Good. You want to go first?
Okay. I have 5 written down. No, I had 6 written down, so I'm trying to choose which one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd rather everyone else go,
Yeah.
because I'm feeling some of these will be possibly named off, so it'd make it easier for me.
So you have backup plans?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
Tubes, do you want to go first?
Oh, yeah. I will go first. Are we doing best first?
Yes.
Okay. So, I feel like I've done one of these before, and because I don't want to repeatedly pick, like, the same ones, I don't know if I've mentioned that I like this boss before, but one of my favorites is Dark Beast Ganon from Twilight Princess.
Oh, you gotta do the big handy thing and just throw him on his side like
Really?
a big puppy dog.
See, the funny thing about that is that I don't think it's a good boss fight, but it's a hilarious boss fight.
Yeah.
Like, the music for it, everything you do in it, like, I really like it, and for me, it's actually a really memorable boss fight, just because we use the song that plays in that boss fight all the time, just to bug each other. Like, we'll have a Bluetooth speaker in the bathroom, and then someone will be, like, DJing for the person showering, and then every time, that song always comes on. That song is, like, the meme of my friend group.
That's hilarious. I actually, you know what I do kind of like about that song, though, is that it is, or that, not that song, oh my god, the boss fight, is that it does it actually has a use for Wolf Link.
Yeah, exactly.
You actually have to use both wolf and human form. I'm just saying, there's not too many times you have to actually do that in Twilight Princess. So
that is very true. There's a really good way to incorporate it.
Also, it's really funny seeing Midna just like grab him and just like throw him on his side.
Grab this giant beast and whang.
Just like, no.
And then Link
Bad
just
dog.
goes at it, biting his belly.
That's unsanitary.
Yeah, that entire boss fight is just
unsanitary.
Really something else.
Yeah, that boss fight. It's one like it has a cool. I guess like a cool callback to Phantom Ganon in Ocarina of Time, to where like instead of going through paintings, he goes through portals and then he comes out. So I think that it's a really cool callback, but I've never really been too excited for it. Like it's not a bad one that I would put on like the top 10 worst, but it's just one that's just, to me, it's just there.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, like by all means, I don't think this is actually a good boss fight, but for me, it's just a hilarious boss fight, and it's the most memorable, and it just really stands out for me.
Does Midna, because before you get into the castle, she wears the mask, and it gives her the power to break the barrier. She turns into like that giant thing. Oh man, I was just thinking it would be really cool if Beast Ganon in Twilight Princess was as big as Beast Ganon in Breath of the Wild. And then
holy cow.
And then Midna, and then Midna still turned into that giant.
Like that?
Yeah, like Midna still had that giant form that's like just as large as that Beast Ganon, and then you could like see them fight. But like Beast Ganon just stands there. It's weird. Like they don't even make him run around.
He runs around.
Well, not like.
Yeah, and then just.
Not like a final boss should.
Yeah. No, not like the final boss should. You're
like,
right.
No. When you're fighting Majora at the end of Majora's Mask and he's running around, he's like dashing back and forth.
Like a crazy person.
Beast Ganon's just like.
Like a buck.
Alright, yeah, so. Yeah, I can see that. I really like how he disappears and then comes back. I think that's really cool in the Zelda boss fights. It's something they use a lot. I see a belt.
Belt?
Yeah, on Ilya's screen. Daniel, would you like to go next?
I have to choose a good one.
Best friend Daniel.
Best good boss fight. I'm gonna sound redundant and terrible for listing this because every time we talk about good boss fights, I always bring this one up because I love it. But Koloktos from Skyward Sword is the bombest boss fight ever. You get to rip his arms off and then beat him with his own giant sword, and it is just dumb fun. It's just plain dumb fun. I don't know what it is about it. Just it's just this really weird boss, and he seems really imposing. And then you start ripping limbs off, and it's just something about it is extremely gratifying. Especially picking up his own sword and beating him with it. It's just there's something about that that's extremely satisfying, and it's a ridiculously fun fight. So
it is. It definitely is.
Yeah, that's my pick, man. Dude, man.
All right.
Man, dude.
I go?
Yeah, go.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
No one's picked any of mine thus far.
Whoo-wee.
Making it difficult.
Okay. Demise. Skyward Sword.
Oh, also good.
It is.
That's a good.
So Link primarily is like a swordsman. And like when you're watching CG Zelda stuff, like the GameCube tech demo from the Space World that we talked about earlier when we talked about Zelda Gaiden, everyone can go watch that video as well. It posted a few days ago because we're time travelers, because this video is going to be posted in like a week. So we posted we posted that video a few days ago. You can go watch it. But in it, it shows Link and Ganondorf like actually sword fighting like you would see in a movie, which is something that a lot of people like to recreate when they're playing Smash Brothers, like because they're both sword fighting in Smash Brothers and stuff. The only time that you really get to do like what feels like a real sword fight is with Demise in Skyward Sword. And the way, like, you're not just pressing a button to like swing your sword to hit him or block him or whatever. Like, you actually have to like punch forward like you would with the shield to block his attacks. And then you have to swing, like you're actually swinging your hand at the correct angle to hit him. And he has patterns, but they're not as strict as most patterns from enemies. Like, it changes a little bit. So sometimes you don't really know what he's going to be doing next. So it's not like when you're playing Punch-Out and you just remember the button pattern. In this, like, he swings kind of randomly, so you don't know if like you need to block or swing or whatever, and it's the closest thing to like a real sword fight that you would ever get in Zelda, and that's why I like it. Plus it's really epic because you're in the clouds and there's like lightning striking, and the lighting of the game, if you're looking at it like in HD, it looks as if like it's could be running on like a PlayStation 4 because it looks so great. But yeah, Ilya.
Okay.
Tell us.
Yeah. Instead of us agreeing on a fifth one, you can just name off the one that you liked the most, and then the rest of yours can just be like a fill-in for the fifth.
Okay.
Like bonuses, I guess.
I will go with Bongo Bongo from Ocarina of Time.
Good choice.
Not necessarily because he's like super hard.
No way.
I mean, I enjoy the boss fight, but the whole atmosphere, I mean, despite me being, as a kid, scared to death of the Shadow Temple, and the well and everything, and it being really creepy. And the temple itself is actually pretty easy to go through, and the boss isn't that hard, but the atmosphere is so cool, and you wonder so much about his story. I mean, obviously, you're making a video on it, and there are many
you talked about
videos about Bongo Bongo
in the top 5 Ocarina of Time mysteries.
I did.
Yeah.
So I just think there's so much to him. I mean, again, it's not necessarily because, oh, he's such a complicated battle, but, like, it's cool. And there's mystery.
Just very fitting and very weird.
Yes. I wonder.
Yeah. And half the fun with the Zelda boss, like, honestly, if you just boil down the mechanics, it's very samey a lot of the time. But the vibe and the atmosphere of these boss fights are, like, half of what makes them good as well, so...
And that's part of what my whole list is it has to do with atmosphere and stuff, except for one. It's specifically the mechanic of beating them that I like. But
Jesse?
I'm just looking up. I'm seeing if the Zelda Encyclopedia has anything about Bongo Bongo.
Oh, I don't think so, really.
While I'm looking,
don't really think so.
Yeah, while I'm looking through, Ilya can just name off the rest of hers. But yeah, Bongo Bongo is one that has the most lore behind him, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Volvagia's got kind of that sort of history too, because they talk about Goron Legend where he was alive.
Don't you know? Link adopted him from the Hyrule
No,
Market.
the manga means nothing.
And then he died, and
That's
he had to fight his ghost when he was wandering through the desert.
Is not
to get to the spirit. You don't remember when you're playing as Link, going through the desert, getting to the spirit temple, and the floating ghost head of your pet dragon comes, and you start crying because you had to kill him, and then you have to kill him again as a ghost. You don't remember that? Don't you know the books are canon? Majora was a beast, and Fierce Deity made him dance until he died.
I'm gonna jump out a window.
You're on the first floor.
I'm gonna go to my office. I'm gonna go up to the 10th floor.
No!
Jump up.
No!
Alright.
The window's not open!
Continue, Ilya. Sorry.
Oh, so my other list was I love Style Blind from A Light Between Worlds, simply because it uses... I love using the mechanic of getting on a shield, and then he's like, wait, what?
And then when he figures it out, and he throws his shield away, too. And then it's just like, oh, this is not working, you know. Like, I that's a really good one. That's a good fight.
I also said Ottawa from Majora's Mask. I love the Deku palace, and that temple was just so cool. And hearing all like the crazy music, I'm like, because I took African modern dance classes at one point, and that was like my favorite thing to dance. And so hearing music like that, I'm like, I love it. Facade, who I know from Link's Awakening, but is also in Oracle of Seasons, because it's literally just like a demon in the floor. It's eyes and a mouth, and it like uses everything around you, and I'm like, that's creepy. And I liked it in Link's Awakening because I always loved Link's Awakening's analogy of like every boss has to do with some sort of fear people have, like if it's clowns or shadows and things like that, which I always had a lot of nightmares as a kid. Not night terrors, but and then my last two were the genie from Link's Awakening. I always found it funny, and Star-Lord from Twilight Princess. That one was for the mechanic.
Hashtag big boy.
Yeah, because the little spinny machine. Because I'm like, we don't get to use that often. It's
No.
underused. I like it. Frustrating when it takes forever to get through all those soldiers, but yeah. So that was my other
There's
ones.
some good choices there. Those are some good picks. I'd like to also mention that A Link to the Past had some really swagger bosses, and I always forget about them. And I'm sad about that sometimes. But also had that worm that pushes you off the cliff, and it's really annoying, so
Oh,
that's kind of the worst.
and there's so many versions of that one, because there's one in Link's Awakening and A Link Between Worlds, which may or may not be on my next list.
Uh-oh. It wasn't going to be my pick for bad ones, and now I think I want it to be. But
No!
I'll stick to my guns, so... Bad boss fights. Jesse, you okay? You still find anything? Did you find what you were looking for?
I'm looking through the enemy section to find Bongo Bongo.
What you say?
Stop!
Oh, here it is.
I'm trying to enjoy my life.
It has like a short paragraph for like every single enemy that's appeared in Zelda games. So it doesn't have much, but it says the Phantom Shadow Beast Bongo Bongo was sealed at the bottom of the well in Kakariko Village until its power grew enough for it to break free. As the boss of the Shadow Temple, it cannot be seen without the lens of truth. Link must fight the beast, which hangs from the ceiling and attacks by striking the ground like a drum, as well as charging Link and slamming down its massive fists. So, did you guys know originally the Shadow Temple was after the Spirit Temple?
People play it either way.
Yeah, you can technically play it either way, but the way the medallions are laid out.
Yeah.
Suggest that.
Zelda, in Zelda 64, like before it was changed, it's probably one of the things that they flipped. Because you get another thing is you get the ice arrows from like the Spirit Temple-ish mini puzzle, like the Gerudo thing.
Gerudo training grounds.
Yeah, so you get the ice arrows from there. After, like in the game, you get to the Shadow Temple, then you get to the Spirit Temple. But you can use the ice arrows to freeze the hands of Bongo Bongo. But you can only get them after you beat him by like the normal strategy guide. You can do it either way, but like it's just like a little thing that's left over to where it's like it's supposed to be flipped.
Is good, yeah.
Right.
But there was always hot debates on the playground about the order of those two dungeons, and my logic was always that Navi tells you to go to the Shadow Temple first.
True.
So that's always the way I went.
And you go to the well anyway and have to do that whole thing to get the lens of truth, which I'm pretty sure you have to use in the Spirit Temple anyway.
You
do. Might as well just do that first.
Yeah. All right. So, did you have any more, Ilya?
Nope, I went through them all. And I already know my first choice for the next one.
All right. So, would you like to go first on that?
Yes.
All right. What is your worst?
Worst one.
Zelda boost.
Worst? Moldorm, either Link's Awakening or A Link Between Worlds. It's a worm, and it's not. It's what makes it hard is not a technical like, oh, it's so challenging. It's because it freaking knocks you off all the time.
From what I've played, is in A Link to the Past, he's at his worst, because he knocks you like to the floor below, and you have to like with the link between worlds. At least you can kind of just bounce back up like on the spring thingies.
Yeah, it still takes a second, but yeah.
Yeah, but then in Link to the Past, you have to like go through a portion of the dungeon to get back to him, and it's
Link's Awakening, you just die.
It's death.
Or no,
is the answer.
no, you can't die. No, you do come back up, but you lose a heart. And also in a Link Between Worlds version, maybe this is just because I like food, but it's top down, right? Mostly. And he's like orangish, and there's little dots.
Looks like a burger.
He looks like a bunch of burgers. It looks like a line
The burger
burgers.
train.
Oh no.
Oh my
I
goodness.
love it.
So
Why do
can't
you hate
stand
him for looking like a burger?
It looks.
What's wrong with
that's
burgers?
weird.
Yeah.
I like
We have
burgers. I
burgers
eat them
here.
without the bun, but I love burgers.
You have something against my dad?
No.
Yo,
Why would it be?
burger.
I have something against you. No. Not true.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my least favorite boss.
Can I go?
it's a good choice.
Yeah.
No, Jesse. Yeah.
Oh,
Go.
so Nintendo reuses the hand a lot
Yeah.
to where like so who is
Bongo
it?
Bongo.
Yeah, there's
It's-
Bongo
Godan.
Bongo.
Andros.
The
guy
one
in-
the one
Bong-
in
There's one in Wind Waker.
Godan.
Yeah.
Godan.
yeah, and then
Godan.
but the one that I hate the most is in I don't know if it's really the boss. I guess it's like the mini boss because it appears throughout. But the Twilight Temple, like the hands that come, like takes the ball.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
just-
I
chase
hate that
you. Yeah.
part. It makes me so nervous because it's such a long trek.
And the
Yeah.
music that it plays, like the entire time, just keeps you like really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah,
my
as it
hands
gets
sweaty.
closer, it's like.
But
You're
it's
like,
not-
No.
And you have the shadow things that's on the ground that kind of keep you from getting.
You're having to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So and then I think
You
you
can
have to
shoot
like
the hand, though.
you have to switch between being a wolf so you can attack the one things. But anyways, I don't know if you can count that because I don't know if it's necessarily a main boss, but a definitive main boss that I hate. So I guess that would be my bonus. Is Gorg? I don't know how to pronounce it. The fish from
We'll
Majora's
just call him
Mask.
Yeah, I know what
George
you're talking
from
about.
Majora's Mask. They changed the boss fight in the 3D version, but I still like it's a little bit better, I guess. Like it's more simplified. But like you'll attack it and then it releases all of the mini fish, and you have to make sure you have enough magic potion so you can do like the shield thing. And then they changed how he swims in the 3D version. So like when you're fighting the boss, not only is the boss different, but you swim different, so you have to have a completely different strategy. And like both versions are just really annoying.
Yeah.
Yikers.
Whereas the boss before that is probably one of the funnest. It's not one of the best, but I would say it's one of the funnest because you get to roll
The
around
goat?
at full speed
God.
and like attack him. Yeah, but yeah, George is the one that I don't like George. So, Tubes, would you like to go next?
Yeah.
Also,
so
I didn't know that you knit. That's really cool.
You didn't know I could what?
Knit.
Yeah.
This hat was knitted for me.
Oh.
I can't knit anything other than scarves. Someday when I have
Can
money,
you knit
I will
the
take
hat?
proper knitting classes and I will learn how to knit a hat.
You can knit me another hat.
Also, I think that hat's crocheted.
Well, like I don't know. They made it, right? It was.
Anyways,
There is a difference between knitting and crocheting. My mom crochets.
Oh man, I forgot the name. She started watching the podcast after I bought it.
I remember you telling her about us.
Yeah.
Or telling us about her.
And her daughter was a fan.
Her son.
Or yeah, no, it was.
He was in the chat one time and he was like, "I'm a boy."
Was it? Oh. She said her daughter in the message she sent.
Oh.
So maybe she has two that are both fans.
Oh.
Who knows?
That would be possible as well.
Yeah. But it was really cool because it's like they knew me. All right. Anyways, Tubes, hi. How are you? How's that scarf?
Yeah, it's good. So my least favorite boss, and I will always say that this is my least favorite boss, redundant as it is, Monsters Inc. Tennis.
Oh, that was gonna be my pick. It's bad.
It's
so bad.
Bad. It is honestly, like, through all of my years, like, the only close second that I can think of for bad bosses would be, like, Fable 2, where you one-punch the boss, and that's the end of the game. That's it. And that was pretty bad.
It's bad. And it's such a letdown, too, because the build-up for it is amazing.
Yeah,
like,
the build-up, and honestly, like, I really liked that part of the game in general. Like, I had a lot of fun doing that. And then you get to the boss, and you're like, okay.
You're like, what the hell is this?
You just have to, like...
It's so intense. There's tentacles everywhere. It's coming out. It's ripping the ship apart, and you get outside, and then it's like, oh, what? This is the boss?
Like, I was basically expecting to fight, like, a big octopus or something crazy like that, or something that... Yeah!
Yeah.
Nope. We got Monsters, Inc.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so mad about it still, because, like, it's such a letdown, and also, like, it's not even, like, it's mechanically interesting to actually do the boss fight, because all it is you avoid the tentacles, you cut the tentacles,
Yep.
you use the dungeon item to shoot him in the eye, and then you attack him with your sword.
Yep.
You shoot him in the eyeball, and you attack him with your sword when he falls over. Like, we haven't done that with freaking 800 Zelda bosses in the past. Like, it's boring, and it's a letdown. I'm mad.
Yeah. It's like
Every
maybe
time we
if
mention Tantalus, he's just like, his anger comes back again.
And what's kind of funny is you talk about the build-up for it. You almost wonder if it wouldn't have been as bad if it had. I mean, it probably would have still been bad. But imagine, I don't know, because I feel like it is that build-up that makes it that much worse. Again, I haven't played Skyward Sword, but I've seen when I watched my first Let's Play of it, and I was like, whoa, what the frick is this? And then you get to it, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a normal Zelda boss.
And it's like tentacles shooting through the boat. Like, it's so intense,
That's
and then you get there,
freaky.
and the tentacles are the hair.
Yeah, wait, yeah, that makes even
hair.
less sense. You don't rip a ship apart with your hair. You got hands for that.
Yeah.
Her hair back and forth.
It doesn't make sense. Oh my goodness.
Thanks, Ilya.
I think what I'll do, because if you notice the way that Skype has it, like, the center, like, there's nothing really in the center spot, so I think I'll just get, like, gameplay of the bosses that we talk about, put them in the center.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Daniel, what's yours?
Yeah.
Since she stole yours.
Okay, so my backup here, I came prepared, is Wind Waker's Puppet Ganon.
Oh.
I don't like that boss fight, guys. I do not find it fun.
Too hard for
It's
you,
not-
huh?
It's okay. As a kid, I used to find it really hard. I don't find it difficult anymore, but
No, it's just
I
unfortunate.
don't find it fun. It's a chore to get through, because you get through Ganon's tower is a really fun final dungeon, and then you gotta just kind of like, oh, it's time to finish your chores before you can go fight Ganondorf. It's like they put it in there as like, oh, we can't have just one stage boss fight, so we'll just like put this obligatory, boring, uninteresting, just shoot his tail and that's it boss fight.
Yep.
Oh, don't forget the 3 remixes of the same boring, just shoot him in the tail boss fight. And then the thing is, like, all the build up, again, it's the build up and everything, like, before it, going up the tower, fighting a bunch of really powerful enemies, like tons of dark nuts and moblins and stuff. Then you have to do this boring boss fight, and then it gets back to a really cool moment where you're like ascending from that room up to go and then see one of the most awesome cutscenes ever in Zelda, and then fight Ganondorf in a really good final boss fight. And yet, just in this great tapestry of gameplay, you've just got this patch of just, like, in my head, what feels like just like boring, like non-creative, a waste of time for me. You know, it's like, oh, you can fight Ganondorf, but finish your chores first. That's Puppet Ganon to me. It's just
Ilya,
sorry.
to end it, do you have your extras?
Yes.
Yes, show us the extras.
Even though as a kid I love this boss because I could beat it, doing it now is it's like all right. It's not so much I hate it as much as I'm like, this is just, another thing I gotta do. King Dodongo, Ocarina of Time.
Oh, really?
So I like him. He's just so freaking easy. Which again, as a kid, it was like perfect. Good, I can do something. Which on that note, I would say Fireblight Ganon, because it's a similar. I mean, we've talked about this before.
Mechanically similar. Yeah, you just wait till he sucks in the air and then throw a bomb at him and then attack him with the sword.
Yeah.
So I know, kind of in the same vein. I like the mechanic of this boss, but he just looks stupid. Morpha from Ocarina of Time.
I liked Morpha, actually.
Yeah, I like the mechanic, but I don't like how it looks. I'm just like, you look like a giant uvula from the back of someone's throat, and it's gross.
Yeah, Morpha's a little bit weird.
Twilight Princess.
Which one?
Armagoma.
Armagoma. Oh, that one's boring.
Because it's like the other two Gomas were fine, but this one's
Why'd you give us another one? And why was it so bad?
And this one, I don't remember the boss fight itself as much as I just hated how it looked. Jahala from Wind Waker. Again, I don't remember the mechanic at all of that boss. It's been too long.
You have to reflect light off the mirror shield to Jahala, stun him, throw him into the spiky wall, and then kill all the little poes that burst out.
I just side note weird
about Armagoma, actually, is that there's a really old beta trailer from Twilight Princess that showed what would have been a very different and nightmare-inducing boss fight where he's chasing you down a tunnel, which did come to fruition in Spirit Tracks, and I will attest that is one way to get your heart pumping, is that boss fight in Spirit Tracks. But it's a shame because I really like that fight in Spirit Tracks. It's great. And that's what we missed out on in Twilight Princess when we got Armagoma. It's like we were teased with this awesome, intense boss fight where you're running down a dark tunnel with a giant spider chasing after you, and instead we just got knock him off the ceiling, and then when we do the statues, we'll just hit him for you. It's hi Ilya.
And that's probably the dungeon that I
dislike.
One of the dungeons I dislike the most.
Was it the Temple of Time? I like the dungeon, but just that boss fight is no good. It's Skype doesn't like you, Ilya.
No, it doesn't.
I like that when you type it, it pops up over you, so it seems like a really aggressive message, and everyone can see it.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I don't. Because it keeps zooming in on my closet door, so I keep having to turn the camera off whenever I come back.
That's weird.
I think we are ready to begin the mailbag and end it, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Everyone's ready? I guess we'll just do one each, and then we can do a bonus fifth. All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Hello, everyone, and actually, Tubes, would you want to do it? You haven't done an intro.
Do it.
Do you have the list of names?
Oh. Am I doing a Patreon? Oh, yes. I am.
You have to name off the
I got it.
And then, Varsity Vortex. Yeah, Varsity Vortex is the new one. So, just add his name. Vortex. Oh. Just say Vortex, I guess.
Vortex. Okay.
Yeah.
Vortex.
All right.
I'm just gonna put it in there.
So, am I going to be able to do this so that you guys getting weird again?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, thank you for adding that, Daniel. Aw. All right.
That's probably not how it's spelled.
So, hello, everyone, and welcome to our 60th episode of the Hyrulean Gamescast. And right now we're going to do our mailbag. So if you guys want to get in on that and be able to ask us questions for us to answer immediately, well, you can go ahead and just become one of our patrons, kind of like our group that we have here. So we have Jacob, Michael, Elmer, Bootleg Boy, a new one who is Vortex. I don't know if there's that many X's in Vortex's name.
Yeah.
And then we have our longtime fans that have been here for a very long time. We have Gus, Justin, That One Pancake, Key of Time, Monica, Casey, Link Used the Triforce, Megan, Lenurium, Robbie, Shadow to Us, Rusty, and Lovable Christy. And I totally forgot to introduce everyone else that I'm here with.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm Shibalima. Game Over Jesse, I don't know where he is on my. I'm not looking at the YouTube,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
Game
Miss
of
Click
Majestic-
just joined.
Huh?
Miss Click joined.
Pika.
She seems to always join at the Zelda mailbag.
Yay.
Maybe
Yeah.
she's got an
Anyways.
inside informant.
Yeah, it's probably when she finishes streaming, so she just clicks over. Yeah. So, anyways, thank
yeah,
you,
so
Patreon supporters.
Thank you,
Yeah.
people. We love you.
Yeah.
Give us all of your questions, and of
Tubes.
course, feel free to super chat in the YouTube if you guys want to ask a question and get our attention right away, or even just ask us questions. Like we have a couple here in our pile, but we always like to answer more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 2 questions from Patreon supporters. I need to update the Patreon list because some of those people aren't Patreons anymore. But our first question from the Patreon supporter is we have Muted Mike and Amanda, who actually just joined the chat. So,
Oh, hi.
Meme Lord, Muted Mike, says, do you think there will ever be 3D multiplayer Legend of Zelda? Split screen, like in Hyrule Warriors, would work the best if it happened. Hyrule Warriors doesn't count. So the cool thing about the original Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U, because it had 2 screens, the gamepad and the normal, you could play full screen with the second player having the Wii U gamepad. So it wouldn't have to be split screen, you would just see like the behind the back perspective from both screens. And to answer that question, yes, the next big Zelda game, there's like a 90% chance it will be Breath of the Wild, but multiplayer. I don't mean like the same story as Breath of the Wild, but the same engine, gameplay, art style, and everything, but multiplayer. Because of the interviews between Aonuma saying that he wants to make a Zelda game with everything that he learned from Triforce Heroes and put it in the engine for Breath of the Wild. And then the president of Nintendo said they want to push the online focus of all of their games. So how do you push online focus? By having online multiplayer, which is the game that Aonuma wants. So it seems the president and the person in charge of Zelda are clicked in on the same idea. But yeah, Tubes, hi.
Hi.
Bye.
Your thoughts?
Oh.
Also,
My-
thank you, Muted
What are
Mike, for
thoughts?
being a Patreon.
Yes.
I think he's still a Patreon.
We're just start a choir for our Patreons.
I would very much like to see a multiplayer 3D Zelda game because I actually have friends now that I can play video games with. So please give me more games to play with my friends. So that way we don't have to do it illegally.
It's not illegal.
Yeah.
Nothing's illegal.
Daniel owns a copy of Four Swords, so
It's private use.
So
Copyright laws.
yeah.
do it
I
on Nintendo Switch so that way we can all actually use our Nintendo online services.
I concur.
Yeah.
Especially since I bought a family membership because we're a family.
Which I still haven't signed on to.
Send me your email, Lily.
I asked you which email you meant.
Anyways, whatever your Nintendo thing is linked to, but
Oh, that makes sense. Sorry.
I probably wouldn't, like a few years ago, probably would not have been down for multiplayer Zelda, but honestly, like playing through Four Swords online last week and everything, like I don't know, like it's just I don't think every Zelda game should be multiplayer, but I have a lot of fun playing Zelda multiplayer, and so I would be down for it. Like, it'd be so much fun. And yes, on Switch, with a legitimate online service would be fantastic. Because of reasons. Thank you for attending my seminar, Ilya.
I want to say
thoughts.
We've been playing Four Swords Adventures.
Okay, Ilya.
And it's been no, but it's been amazing. Like even though we
It
were
has.
stuck
It's been
for a long
incredible.
time, I just wanted to
It's
say how
been so
amazing
fun.
Four Swords Adventures is, but it's a lot to set up. So Ilya,
When I played it the first time in my whole life there, I did not have anyone to play it with, and I could not make GBA link cables and stuff work to make my friends play with me, and it was not fun on my own. But actually playing it with other people is so much fun. So, sorry, Ilya. We'll let you talk now.
Yeah.
No, it's all good.
Actually, Ilya, don't talk. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We all kept
So,
talking over it.
I am open to an online multiplayer Zelda game as long as it's online and as long as it's not. That is it for the game. I want it to be, or like as long as it comes out like really soon after, really shortly before there is a main Zelda console game. You know, it'd be like if they, instead of releasing Breath of the Wild, just made a multiplayer Zelda game, I would have been pissed because it would have been like, no, I just want to do something on my own. So yeah, as long as it's online, because I have no one around here I would play with, like everyone's been saying, it's not fun when you don't have people to play with. And as long as it's either like just an extra mechanic or at least there is another main one that's new, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'd be
It's
open
like
to
if
it.
they had done Triforce Heroes but did not have a Link Between Worlds come out like just
Yes.
before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Totes my goats.
The example I always use is Breath of the Wild has a multiplayer-esque function to where another player isn't playing with you, but the computer is controlling Wolf Link. So it would literally take like 10 minutes of code for Nintendo to allow someone to play as Wolf Link instead of the computer. So my idea is how Wolf Link is completely optional. You can go the entire game without him, but if you do have him, he is helpful. So make a Zelda game that is primarily single player, but has the option to bring in another person. Sort of like what they're doing with the fan mod that we're going to get soon, the Ocarina of Time multiplayer, to where it's, you know, it's just Ocarina of Time, single player Ocarina of Time, but this gives you the option of playing it multiplayer with someone. So yeah, it's really, really cool. The only time that I can think of that would benefit from having multiplayer is like the Wind Waker dungeons, where you have to switch back and forth between the characters. So instead of having to switch back and forth, one person could just play as the Korok or whatever, and the other person could play as Link. Or in Majora's Mask, when you're getting the Sun Mask, I think, from the Sakon's hideout, you have to switch back and forth between Cafe. Is that his name? Cafe? I always thought it was a girl named Cafe, but it's a guy. But yeah, you have to like switch back and forth between Link and Cafe. Imagine doing a puzzle like that, but instead of switching back and forth and one person standing still the whole time, you both just run through the puzzle really quickly. So I think stuff like that would be really, 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 really cool. And then I think Phantom Hourglass, maybe Spirit Tracks, has a part where you have to switch between Link and Goron. Because I remember you have to like roll around one of the dungeons. Anyways, yeah, so hi, everybody. Next question. Ilya, you gave yours. Tubes, you gave yours?
Yeah.
All right, so I think
everybody.
The next question is right below muted mic, if someone wants to take it from Patreon.
I don't even see where muted mics is.
I don't see where
It's
that
in
is either.
the Zelda mailbag on the Discord.
Oh, I'm trying to look on the Google Doc.
Yeah. It's two.
Oh, on Discord.
Yeah, there's two Patreon supporters asked a question.
Yeah, I didn't see them there because I was looking in the doc.
Yeah, so was I.
They're blue.
Oh, whoops. Well.
Hello, muted mic. Oh, it's Amanda!
Yeah, she's in the live chat
Yes.
now as well.
Read the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone wants to take it.
I will do it. So, Amanda, one of our Patreon supporters, asks, what 2D game would you like to see a 3D remake of the most? And what game's art style would you want it to take after?
I've answered this before.
I
think
I'm
well,
going
I
to.
know that, like, a Link to the Past, but I'm not sure what style I'd want to do it in.
I'm going to say. I'm going to cheat and say Oracle of Ages and Seasons. That way I get two.
Oh.
Oh, sassy.
Because they released at the same time.
Right. The thing with A Link to the Past, though, is A Link Between Worlds kind of started as that, so it's pretty easy to see how that remake would turn out. It would basically just be A Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, but that's still 2D.
But,
Or like 2.5D. So like 3D would be like behind the back camera angle, like Ocarina of Time.
So, I mean, Well, okay, so we talked before about wanting a Zelda 2 remake, but I want it to still be like, I don't want it to be a 3D remake. But you know what may be pretty cool? I'm just gonna go way old school and say Zelda 1 then, because I played through it recently and I enjoyed it, even though I died a lot and was really bad at it. But there's a lot of neat little puzzles and stuff in that game, and I don't know, it could be really fun. Also, I remember seeing a few years ago someone recreated the entire map of Zelda 1 in Minecraft. And I'm not super huge into Minecraft, though I know they have a huge community, but it was a very faithful recreation, and it was really cool to like, he showed like a tour video, so it started out above, like him facing straight downwards, so you could see from above. It looked perfect rendition of Zelda 1's map, and then he drops down and starts walking around the world, and it's a really neat video showing, and he's just walking around the map, just showing off like how it would look if you were down there, and that was really cool. So I'd love to see that and as a 3D remake. But then there would be the naysayers, of course, but there always is. So Yar, who did not pick Ilya?
Yar.
Yeah.
Ilya.
Her camera's gone.
No.
Yeah.
Ilya, come back.
So while we're waiting on her, Daniel, do you want to pick one?
Do it.
Okay.
She's given up on Skype entirely.
So the Sacred Slinger actually put this in the Zelda mailbag as well. I don't know if we put it in our thing on the Google Doc, but Sacred Slinger on Discord asks, do you think it's about time we've gotten a Great Flood game lore ever since Skyward Sword shows that a hero could have appeared? So I'm thinking a game that takes place. Oh, Ilya's back. That takes.
Am
place
I though? Just give it 3 seconds.
Okay. So my issue with this concept, actually, and it's something that people brought up to us probably in the past on the podcast, but a game that takes place between Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, sort of showing like what happens during the flood. But the whole thing for me is that the flood occurs specifically in the lore because a hero did not appear. So does that mean you play a game where you are not the hero? Or are you just not a remembered character in the lore for some reason? Or is it a whole game that is completely set up where you have to fail at the end? Because either way, that's kind of a bummer too.
So if you play through Ocarina of Time, 90% of the people have no idea who you are. They're just like, oh, that's the fairy boy from the woods. Like when you go to Hyrule Castletown, after you've already like beaten 5 dungeons, you've saved like Lake Hylia. Nobody knows Link saved Lake Hylia. They just know like, oh, the lake's filled up now. Who did that? Or like the Gorons are gone. Now they're back. How'd the volcanoes like the volcano's not on fire anymore? Nobody knows it's you.
No, though, because like the Gorons know. They take note of it when you help them.
The normal people
you do go down in history. You know, like like in future games it's mentioned like the feats that
but like that's all after he does it. I'm talking about like everyone probably comes to know like after you stop Ganon at the end of the game. Everyone is like, oh, Link did this. Like the stories are passed down to everyone. But I'm saying like up until that point, like you could do the entire game, beat the Spirit Temple. The only thing that you're really known for by the Hylians is like, oh, that's that guy that was good at the mini games. He shot all the rupees with the slingshot.
Or that guy was in my archery contest.
Or like, oh, that's the kid that played the song I Hate Him, blah blah blah. Or like, that's the guy that ran through and grabbed all the chickens. Like, that's the only thing that they know Link as. It's only until probably after you beat Ganon and everything happens that the stories start passing around and people start recognizing all of the things that he did. Because, like, the guy on the roof, whenever the volcano erupts and he, like, falls backwards or whatever, like, he doesn't know that Link is the reason that the volcano's not active anymore. So, so in Ocarina of Time, for example, you could do everything, save everyone, but if, like, you failed or died, like, after you beat the Spirit Temple, like the Downfall timeline, then no one really knows that you are the one who did all of this stuff. So it could be something like that, to where, like, it's a hero that came and, like, you could do everything, but it comes to the final moment and you die. And, like, you know, no one knows that he's the one that did everything, even though he is. Like, it's only the Gorons that know, or the Zora that know. It's not until after that everyone knows.
I guess you have a point too, because I think the real world answer is because these games came first, so they hadn't thought of these concepts. Yeah. But in game, there's no real record or mention of Ocarina of Time, the Hero of Time Link, in those games. But we do know that when Link succeeds in A Link to the Past, he is recorded as having, like, gone down in history as a hero, because we see that in A Link Between Worlds. So I guess I feel like if you had this game where you set out to do all these things and it comes to the end of the game and you're this forgotten hero who does not succeed, that is just that's a huge bummer. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I
feel like that would be anticlimactic.
It'd be a huge plot twist, and maybe in hindsight, like 10 years after, we'd look it back and be like, that was really smart and I really liked that or something. But I feel like at the time, as far as playing a video game goes, for me sitting down, when I finish the game, I don't want to feel bummed out like that. I want to feel accomplished, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's not, you know, and yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, Ilya and Chiblima look really good right now. Like, your cameras are, not you, just like your camera quality.
Yeah, not you.
Like, something happened.
You gross.
Like, I don't know if you can tell on the video stream, but, like, Daniel's video is, like, a little bit pixelated. But then, if you look at Tubes and Ilya, like, it looks just as clear as mine. Like, super HD.
Why am I so fuzzy looking?
I don't know. They were earlier. Like, they were fuzzy too, but now they're, like, once Ilya came back, like, they're super clear.
It's my angel wings.
You know what that means?
He just leaves. Daniel.
No. So I missed half of the conversation, so I'm sorry if I repeat something when I answer.
I'm just kidding. I'm not leaving. You can't get rid of me.
We can just leave you in the circle.
No!
We'll drag and drop you at the bottom.
But anyways, I don't mean to be a big bummer or a downer
now you're super HD.
on this idea, Sacred Slinger. I don't want to be, like, raining on everybody's parade, because I know a lot of people have put forward this idea or brought it up in the past, but I don't know. I'm not into it. So
I'm with you. I don't think it would make sense. Especially since the games aren't made with a timeline placement in mind.
Yeah. I feel like it's still, like,